Okay, so it's about that time. It looks like it's time to start on the dot, so we'll go ahead and get kicked off. Again, hello to everyone. My name is Greg Cummings, and I'm pleased to be the trainer for today's session on what we've kind of termed as the 7 habits of highly effective VPI users. We want to thank each and every one of you for joining our new customer training webinar series. If you were, part of the last couple of them that we've done, this is going to be an ongoing exercise from our training and development professional services team to continue to educate our customers on best practices and use of the application. So the goal of the webinar is to obviously highlight the features of VPI Empower Suite that will allow our users to take full advantage of all the functionality that the tool has to offer. Many of the features we'll be demoing will aid in your increasing productivity, better user effectiveness, and a general overall user experience within the VPI application. So to avoid interruptions, everyone has been placed in a listen-only mode. If you have any questions during the webcast, please type them into the QA box on your screen, or if it's easier, you can use the chat box. So either one of those, and those questions are going to funnel to me, and then we'll make sure to get those at the end. So we're going to try to answer those at the end. And we've allotted a total of 45 minutes for this, and for any of you that have worked with me in the past, you know that that's going to be a tough feat for me to fit it into 45 minutes, but we'll try to keep it to that. And if for any reason I can't address one of your questions during our time today, we'll make sure to get back to you via email or a phone follow-up with an answer to that question. So after the webinar, you're going to receive a brief survey, and we'd really encourage everyone to fill that out and provide us some information about how the webinar went and any suggestions for future topics that you might have. Really important for us to take in the feedback from our users and make sure that we're presenting back to you in these webinar series the information that's important and critical to your environment, and maybe the things that you want to know and highlight on. So that feedback and that survey is very important for us at VPI to continue to improve these sessions as we move forward. So thank you again for your participation, and we will go ahead and get started. So today's session, and let me just move to my next slide here. So today's session is going to focus on some of the most commonly overlooked features of the VPI Empower Suite. And we're going to, target the ones that we felt were important for every customer to really gain value from by leveraging these different actions and different functions within the suite. Many of the functions are not quite as apparent as some of the simple tasks, but these can also save you time, keystrokes when you're in the application, and give you a lot of pertinent information without necessarily maybe having to go into the other areas of the application. So for today's session, we're going to dive into the topics that I've listed here, starting with setting our start page, and we're going to talk to how valuable that can be, especially if you're in an environment where you really want to save time and a few extra clicks when you first log in. The VPI Empower Suite has the ability to define a particular landing page or start page when you first log in. As an example, if you're someone who focuses a lot on quality evaluations, and doing quality assurance, maybe you want the quality search evaluation screen to be your main start page. I'm going to show you how to accomplish that. We're going to talk about modifying a search screen's layout. Everyone's a little bit different, Everyone's got a different look and feel for how they want their start page, or how they want their search screen to be laid out. So I'm going to show you a quick way to adjust that for your own profile and make it a little bit more user-friendly for yourself. We're going to talk about using filters, and I bet a lot of us have used filters, and we're just going to dig a little bit deeper on some of the effective ways to use those, some of the different filtering options, all the different filtering capabilities. From there, we're going to migrate into how to create a custom search. Again, maybe that's one of those things that you're not doing on a regular basis. Maybe you're doing more of the ad hoc searching, maybe by just date and time. But if there's a search that you run on a frequent basis, I want to show you how to create that and save it, again, to save you time in the future as you're looking for particular interactions in the application. From there, we'll move into adding and editing flags to our interactions and talk about how those can be valuable. And from there, we're going to move into adding attachments to our interactions. Maybe this is something that you guys aren't using. Maybe this could be something that could be valuable to your organization, Appending an external piece of content to an interaction, like maybe a fax that was received, or a picture of something, or a document that you had scanned in, and you want to append that to the interaction to maybe complete that customer experience, right? There's a way to incorporate that and then maintain that with that interaction for a long period of time. We're going to wrap up the session with the ability and talking about how we export media for external review. If you have the need to send something off to someone else that might need to be reviewed and they don't have access to your VPI application, then it's really important to be able to share that information with them, and we're going to highlight the different methods for being able to do that. So these are the 7 topics that we've identified, right, are things that can turn us all into that kind of power user and really effective user of the VPI application, and then we will build on the next series from there. So without any delay, let's go ahead and jump into our product feature demonstration. So this is really where we're going to start to look at it. Not a lot of PowerPoints here. We're actually going to dig into the product. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize that, and I'll bring up, right, the VPI application. So everyone who's hopefully on the call with us has some familiarity with their VPI and Power Suite in one form or another. The version that we're looking at right now is our version 5 of the software, so it's our latest iteration of the release, and maybe someone's got an older version, but this should be very similar in methodology and functionality. What I've done is I've already gone ahead and logged into the application, and you can see that I'm kind of on my VPI homepage. So the first page that anyone logs into is their My VPI homepage. But again, like I was talking about a few minutes ago, what if I'm a quality analyst and I want to have a different start page? Or maybe I'm someone who always is just looking for calls and I want to land on that interaction search screen every time I log in. What I can do is I can navigate to the particular page that I want as my start page or my initial landing page, and once I've landed on that page, when I hover over the My VPI tab in the upper left, I have an options menu. And you're going to have an option here to set this as your start page. Now that's really cool. I can define the landing page for every time I log into the application. And for anyone who's been a frequent user of the system, when you log in, if you're on your My VPI homepage, you might have to make a couple extra clicks to get to the first page that you want to be on. So if I was to set as my start page, the system's going to refresh for me. And let me just show you what that's going to look like. So we're going to go ahead and log off of here, and I'm going to log back in, if I can remember my password. When I log in, look where it took me. I mean, that's a cool feature, right? It just saved me landing on my VPI homepage, having that page load, having to go over and navigate to interaction search. Now I can always jump back to my dashboard, right, my VPI dashboard, and take advantage of the layout and the metrics and the widgets that I've deployed. But if my main focus is really about finding calls, because maybe I'm in a public safety environment or maybe I'm in a commercial environment and I've got, you know, responsibility to review X amount of calls on a regular basis, having that start page land on the page that you interface with the most can be a very important feature. Now, along with that, there's an additional option, right, which again I want to highlight. I think it's really cool, is that you have the ability to also build out what we refer to as quick links. So I set my start page as the interaction search, but I spend a lot of time running quality reports. So I'm going to go to the reports page, and I'm going to go to My VPI. I'm going to go under options. I'm going to set this as a quick link. So now I added that as a quick link. So let's say I logged in again, right? I first logged in, and maybe I'm on my interaction search page or I'm on my main dashboard page, and I want to go to reports. Instead of having to go quality reports, I can just right from here, I can jump into the reports view. So it's kind of like your favorites menu in whatever web browsing application you use, Firefox, Internet Explorer, etc. It's kind of building that internal favorites list, and you can make that as in-depth as you want. If I'm a system administrator, right, maybe I want to have my user group view as a quick link, and I can just navigate to the pages that I've defined as quick links right from this My VPI dropdown. Let me just recap those. Again, 2 really great features. Customers have the ability to define a landing page like I've done here, and you can see the little icon to the left of that. That's your indication that this is defined as your initial start page, right? And every time I log in, it's going to take me to my interaction search screen. I also have the ability to add quick links, right, like I've done with the reports page. Two really good features, going to save you a little bit of time, make the system a little bit more user-friendly, and get you to where you need to be nice and fast. Okay, good. Got any questions on those? Remember, send them into the QA or the chat, and we'll get those answered at the end of the webinar. So moving on, we are going to talk about how we modify our search screen layout. So you can see that we have landed on our interaction search page, right? So there's kind of a theme here, right? These first two things we're talking about go with kind of visibility and kind of the look and feel of the application for your profile. The search screen here, right, has a specific set of columns, and they contain specific information. But maybe I want to move these around a little bit. I want to adjust where these reside and kind of, maybe it's more prudent to me to have this call indication, call segment indicator over here to the left or to the right a little bit more. And maybe I want to have duration over here as well, or maybe I want to resize some of these columns. Doing that is very simple on your individual user profile. Under the search option, you have the ability, and I know this gets overlooked a lot because I'm a trainer and I can tell you I've overlooked it myself, right? It's just one of those things, you kind of have a default view. Most people kind of let that reside that way, and maybe they don't pay attention or look at this change layout option or maybe really fully understood what that's going to do for you. So when I select change layout, it's going to put me in this kind of edit mode, and you'll notice that as I hover over, right, these columns, these column headers, my icon is changed to a cross, right, with arrows at each tip, and that's telling me that I can drag and drop that to another location. So I can drag and drop, and you're going to see the little blue arrow indicators at the top, and now I've just repositioned that, right? I can drag the edges and resize them, right, to whatever column width I want. And if for some reason I'm working within my profile and I'm not happy with the way I set it up or something didn't size properly, you've always got the ability to go back in and reset your layout, right? And it's going to reset it back to its default, and then I can start over. So your profile should be customized to what makes sense to you as a user. Once you've got your layout defined and you've made the necessary movement to move things around to a logical order for you, you can, from the search, save your layout. When you save your layout, that's going to be the layout that's always present on the particular search screen that you are on. Now, there's a key word in there, right? That key word is there's the particular search screen that you're on. This is not going to translate to your quality search. You can set that one up however you see fit as well. So there are different search pages. If you do a lot of audio searching, right, just looking for the audio segments, you can adjust that search page's layout, your quality search page layout. So depending on where you spend most of your time in the application, customize it to what's going to meet your need the best. One of those features that I see as being commonly kind of overlooked, and we're just kind of creatures of habit, right? So we kind of get used to the view that's presented to us, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't have the ability to customize that a little bit more and make it more, right, your style. Okay, good feature. Again, you're going to, from the search menu, right, if I save my layout, I'm going to have the ability to change my layout. I can always reset it back to the default. Once you're done changing your layout, you want to save it, and every time you log in and land on that particular search page, you're going to have the view set up the way you defined it. Now, a common question a lot of you might be asking is, how do I get additional data into the search columns? What if I want phone number or direction? That's an administrative function. We're going to be covering some of that potentially in a future webinar, but you do have an administrative staff that can also adjust what columns are actually visible in your search screen. If you got questions on that, reach out to your admins. They can help you get those answered. All right. So the next thing we're going to talk about, right, and we're still kind of, on this same search screen, and we're moving along with our theme here. We're moving from the design kind of style view, into using our searching and filtering functions, and we're going to start with the effective use of filters. And I like to call them hyper filters because I think they're just jacked up and they're doing a lot for us, right? So these are our hyper filters and how we can filter out our data. You'll notice that the filters reside in this upper light blue bar right above our search columns. On my page here, I have 4 filters listed: agent name, comment text, duration, and flag. Your search screen can contain 4 filters, and these are great tools to narrow down what you're looking for. As an example, I have 24 records currently returned in my search, but I want to narrow that down a little bit because that's too much for me to filter through, right? And maybe you do a search and you get hundreds of records or thousands of records because you're looking at a 6-month period or a longer duration, and you want to be able to filter down those results and get something very specific. So a good example would be, right, searching by comment text. And we're going to talk about, and we've talked about in past webinars, the ability to add comments, right? So now building on top of that understanding, if you were to add a comment to a record, and maybe there's constant comments being added to the interactions, things like the customer was really happy with the level of service that was provided, the representative did a great job on the call, or this is where they talked about wanting to upgrade their account or get a new policy, right? So if we've got comments associated, and I know I've got comments, right, because I look over here and in my column I can see this little raised out, comic book bubble. That's telling me I have comments there, but I don't want to go through each one of these. That's just way too much work. So effectively using a filter to look for something in the comment text is a great tool. So I'm going to go ahead and search here for Greg, and I'm going to hit refresh. Oh, I didn't get anything. But I did that on purpose, right? So just so you guys know, I was a little bit more prepared than that. I didn't get anything when I searched on Greg, and I'm wondering why here. So I'm going to clear that filter, and it's going to return my results again. And the reason is I need to look at my operators, and I needed to change what operator I'm using. What that just told me was that there was no interaction with just a comment that said Greg. But I know that the name Greg is in a comment somewhere, and I think it is included with additional text. So I'm going to move down and use my contains operator. You'll also notice we have a number of different operators listed, right? Not equals, less than. We'd use these type of values when doing other types of filtering. Greater than, less than or equal, greater than or equal, etc. So we have a number of different operators we can actually use to facilitate our searching. So if I go contains instead of the default of equals, and we go contains, let me try that one more time. Greg, okay, now let's do refresh. Oh, look at that. Now I've got some records. So there's a Greg Cummings, there's a travel agent ID, there's case ID and incident. Now, I bet you anything, if I was to go over here to my comment bubble on the right-hand side that I'm circling over, if I was to open this up and review some of those comments, I'm going to see in here as I go through this that I'm probably going to have the name Greg. Oh, there it is right there. Great job, Greg. I had a little pat on my own back, right? I don't know. It's the only chance I get. So there it is. There's the comment text that's associated with this. How can you make that effective? If you've got your supervisors, your managers, your staff putting comments in, and you want to go back and do some root cause analysis, maybe you want to go back and do some first call resolution analysis, and you've had your QA staff commenting on interactions where the customer has indicated they've had multiple contacts with your organization, pulling up all of those based on the comments could be a good way to get a list and then start to listen to those, review them, and then implement change in policy or procedure to ensure that you're improving your first call resolution, right? And that's, it's a real simple way to do that by using those comments effectively. So if you're not doing that now, think of, other ways that you can leverage that function to improve your business. All right, commenting, right? That's how we search based on comment text. Let me do another one here, duration. Okay, I'm going to clear this. It's going to reload my results because I cleared all my filters. Duration, again, I need to put an operator. If I left it here at equal, this is a common mistake. I make it all the time. I'll put a value in here in seconds, like 300, and that would mean that I would only get back calls that were exactly 5 minutes. And that's usually not going to happen, right? So I need to make sure I change my operator. And I'm going to say, you know, I want to review all of my long calls today. So I'm going to do a campaign internally, and we're going to look to help out the reps that are having longer calls than we potentially want to see, because we're trying to measure to some handle time, talk time, right, customer satisfaction metrics. So I'm going to go greater than 300. Again, this is a seconds value. And then I'm going to hit refresh. And look at that. I returned 3 results. So out of my 24, 3 of them were greater than 300 seconds. Clear that. Using your flag, right? When I open up the flag one, I can sort by particular flags. I only want to see everything with a white flag. Hit OK. Hit refresh. And now I've gone from 24 results down to 16, and every single one of my records has a white flag, right? Using your filters. The filters are always doing and statements. It's an important thing for everyone to understand. These are all and statements. So when you use a filter like agent name of Greg, right, I'm going to put contains that value in the agent name, and where the flag is red, right, has questionable content, hit refresh, it's going to apply both those filters and would look for that indication. Okay, I didn't get any result there, so let me clear that, and then I would continue to filter. Now you can also adjust your filters on an ad hoc basis. Maybe you don't want to search by duration or flag. You want to use a different filter. In the upper left, you've got the ability, let me let that menu go away, to open up your filter selection window, and you can see that the system can filter by a whole lot of data, right? Our systems can, in a lot of cases, collect a lot of information. So you have a ton of filtering capabilities depending on the amount of data that is being collected. So if I wanted to search on something maybe like direction, call direction, I've got it down here in my audio details. Oh, there it is. It told me I can only select 4 filters. I got to uncheck one. I'm going to uncheck flag, right? And I should be able to now grab direction. When I save that, you'll notice that the direction filter is now available and the flag filter has left our screen. Use of filters to locate your results, again, will speed up the time it takes to find something, ensure that you're looking at the right records that you want to, and then from there you can start to play them, you can evaluate them, you can distribute coaching content, right? Whatever the different elements are of the application and how you plan on, using those records that you have found. Filters, great tool. Make sure to set your proper operator, right? Make sure you put the appropriate values in. If you see a little blue arrow, right, I call it a Smurf colored arrow, it's kind of got that Smurf blue look to it. When you click on that, it's going to give you a drop-down menu that will, in some cases, tell you the value you can select from. So here for direction, I can choose to either filter by inbound calls or outbound calls, right? So when you see those little blue arrows, you can interact with them. That's the message. Clicking the X to the far right of the particular filter will clear whatever value is indicated there, or you always have the clear function. Filters are the best way for you to quickly narrow down the results of whatever search you've run and then be able to start to analyze and work with that data. I encourage everyone to take that time and play with their filters, use things that are out of the norm for you. If you don't have those filters, use your filter option, add some filters to your search, right? Try to break away from just using date and time. It's hard. It took me like 2 years. This is what I always used to do, just date and time searches. Then I started working on it, right? Oh, I need to do some more filtering based on my filters. Makes it a lot easier to find the data that you're looking for. Okay. Filtering is great for that ad hoc searching. Finding what you need, moving on. Finding what you need, moving on. But maybe we want to create a custom search because I'm a supervisor and I've got a team of people. and I want to always find those particular people's calls. Or maybe I've got some new hires that are working for me now. So I've got 4 or 5 new hires, and I want to create a custom new hire search, right? That'd be kind of nice to be able to have that custom search at my disposal. So we keep and house any custom search that you've created over in the My Searches vertical menu. Now you got to tilt your head to the right without falling out of your chair a little bit to read that, because it's kind of in that vertical menu. So if I open up My Searches over on the right-hand side, I'm going to see where any custom searches that have been created are available for me to run. Today's interactions, today's calls, and today's screen capture, I don't have any custom searches really. These are all the default searches. So from here, I can make a new search. But just like a lot of things in our application, there's multiple ways to get to the new search creator, right, or the search builder. I can create it from this My Searches view under New, or back over on the left-hand side under Search, I can select New as well. 2 different ways to get to the same place. Use what's convenient for you as, right, a system user. I'm going to select New, and it's going to take us and give us, right, a pop-out window. It's going to say, what kind of search do you want to build? Right? What kind of search do you want to make in the system? And I want to make an interaction search, right? This kind of looks like that Star Trek logo, right? I want to make this interaction search. Now I'm in the interaction search builder, right? This is where I can really start to leverage the power of creating custom searches. A couple of simple steps we need to take. First, we want to name our search, right? So, you know, that agent new hire one we could do a search that maybe just tells us or returns specific flags. So that's going to be a nice, easy one to build. It's going to be good for our session. So I'm going to call this, right, flag search. Now, there's a couple key things here. I need to make sure, right, that as part of my search under my common filters over here on the left, my common criteria, right, because we're building a query in essence, I need to first and always add a start time value. You have to have that start time value. We have to give the system some parameters to search within for a date and time. So when I select start time, it's going to give me a little popped-out menu, and it's going to say, okay, how would you like this to run? We give you some defaults, right? Today, last 24, 48, 30 days, etc. I could do custom and even set a defined range, right? But again, that's going to lock me into a specified period for this custom search. So really what I'm going to do is I'm going to default it to today, and I'm also going to tell the system to prompt me at runtime. So every time I run that search, it's going to ask me, do you really want to run it for today, or would you like to expand that duration, strike that time period that you want to run it? I'm a big fan of using that prompt at runtime. I like to have a little bit of that control. First criteria in my query. Okay, now I got flag. So let me pull up the flag filter, all right? And what flags do I want to search by? I want to search by my white flags, my yellows, right? And I want to, all these flags. You know, or I could, you know, instead of setting that every time and only getting back those flags, why don't I also set this to prompt at runtime? So I just have to make 2 quick selections and get all my results, instead of having to set up the filters and adjust the date and time range. So I can say, you know what, I always want to search based on my white flags and my reds, but I also want it to just give me a quick prompt. Hit OK. There we go. There's the second query criteria. And I could add a third one in here, duration. Now, let me just put that one in there because that's important to me too. I really don't care about my short calls or my kind of intermediate ones. I want to see the ones that are, you know, greater than 120 seconds. All right. So now when I look at this, I've got a start date and time, a duration of greater than 120 seconds, and white flag or red flag. There we go. I built a custom search and I named it flag search, right? You guys can go really, really wild with this. You can make a lot of great custom searches. Make a new hire custom search if that's what you want to focus on. Make a team search. If you're a manager that has multiple teams, maybe you have a custom search for each one of the teams, right? And it has all the agents and you can quickly access those recordings. Maybe in a 911 or a public safety environment, you make a search that calls up the Annie Alley, right? And you can quickly search for a phone number right? If you need to review or retrieve a call based on someone's caller ID information, right? There's a lot of possibilities for creating custom searches and streamlining your interaction with the system. I'm going to go options up here to the left, right? And you've got some other options here. You can preview it, and it's going to give you a little preview pane at the bottom. You can make it a default, right, if you want this to always be the default search that runs. I just want to save this, so under options, I'm going to save and exit. And again, you guys, all of this is called out in our online help menus, right? We've got a great online help utility. It gives you a lot of, functioning and using of that online help. Now I'm back to my main interaction search page. Where do I find that? Well, I'm going to go back over to my vertical menu on the right-hand side, and there's my flag search. Ta-da! I log into the system. I need to find those particular calls. I'm drinking my morning coffee, and I click on flag search. It's going to prompt me. I'm going to say, yeah, you know what? Give me a custom range here, and I'm going to set this pretty far back because I know my system well enough. And I'm going to hit next, and it says, what flags do you want to find? I'm going to go good with the white and with the red, and run my query. Well, should get, oh, yeah, that's always fun, right? And you'll get your results returned. So when you get your results returned, it's going to show you everything that would have returned, right? And I can see that I've got all of my white and red flagged calls over here on the left. Creating custom searches, nice, easy way for you to define exactly what you're looking for and be able to run those, right, without having to set up extensive, filtering or changing your date and time constantly. Building out those custom searches is going to give you those results that you're looking for. And you can also modify those. If I've got one that I want to change, maybe that one, maybe I used a bad filter, I might have, right? I could go into it and I could edit it. I could also delete it, right? I could set it as the default. So you've got some other interactions that you could do here. So I could probably jump back into here and, maybe check my flag filter, or check my duration, right? One of my options might have been a little broke. So I can modify that. If I was to select that and edit it, it obviously would take me back into the search designer and allow me to manipulate that search. Don't be afraid of building searches. You can't break it, right? You're not going to hurt it. If you make a search that you don't like, you can always delete it. Open up your My Searches. That search wasn't working for me. I can select it and make it go away. Okay. Creating custom searches, leveraging that power, again, to make your job a lot easier. Filtering, custom searches, two great tools. Next thing I want to show you, we talked about flags a little bit, is the ability to add and edit flags to an interaction. When I've got my interaction selected, right, I can, over on the left-hand side, from just the search screen, I don't even have to go to my actions menu, which is kind of cool. I don't have to hover and go flag, right? I can simply select the icon and I can change the flag value. Maybe I want to change this to needs immediate attention because I want someone else to review that, right? I can change it from here, again, customer issue. You can have one flag per interaction. That might be a question that someone's going to pop in there on the window, right? Can I have more than one flag? I'm going to answer that one for you right now. No, you can have one flag per interaction. You can change those and add flags by selecting, right? Clearing the flag will make it go away. Clicking on it again, I can, right, put my white flag back on it. I can also do it from the actions menu if I was to have a record selected. So let's say I had this record selected here. Once it's loaded into my media player, I could go actions and I could flag this as well. Okay. Flagging. Flag calls for training purposes. Flag calls for follow-up. Use your flags effectively if you want to gain additional insight into what's happening. Great for those review periods, right, and things that you need to follow up on or things that you want to take action on in the future. I love the idea of flag a bunch of calls for training purposes. Next time you have a new hire training class, boom, these are pre-screened set of calls that I can use in my next training session. List it all out here for me, take them into my training class. Don't have to save them, put them on a CD, do all this other funky stuff. I can just pull up my VPI application, do a search for my training flagged calls, and start to play them in training class. I love making that recommendation, right? I think everyone should be doing that. Okay, my list of calls here. Now I'm going to pull one up, and we talked about the flags. Now the idea about adding attachments to an interaction. This is a really neat concept that I think everyone can get used to. It's the ability to add our attachments. When I select a record, and if I highlight over it at any point in the media bar, I can add an attachment. When I select Add Attachment, it's going to give me a popped-out window and tell me my supported file types. From here, I can select a particular file, and let's say that I want to add the webinar slides from this webinar because I want to follow up on those. That's a PowerPoint. I hit Open, right? It attaches it. It's got my path. This is for the webinar. When I hit OK, it's going to upload that to my interaction. So now I've got that attachment as part of my actual interaction. If you have external content you need to append to an interaction, I've talked to plenty of customers that said, oh, that would be a great feature because we get a lot of faxes from customers where they've signed a document or they've acknowledged something or they sent in some paperwork, this, that, and the other. And we store that in a file somewhere and it's stuck in an archive. Man, it would be cool if we could just attach that to that call. Selecting the record and then either highlighting it from the bubble menu over here on the right-hand side in the search results, or actually doing it from the media bar itself and adding the attachment will upload that attachment to the recording, to the interaction. If you want to draw on that later, maybe I want to look at that 6 months from now. Right now I want to go digging for the file somewhere. I can select that and it shows me my attachments to display. And right here I can see all my details, who put it on there, the date and time, what the file is, the size of it. When I click on that, how cool is this? I can open it right there. Boom, and it's going to open up that PowerPoint. You're putting a copy of it up onto the system, and you can draw on that at a later time. A lot of great possibilities. Think outside the box, outside the realm of how you can use that and how you could potentially leverage that in your organization. Maybe you've got coaching sessions you've done with representatives. Maybe you've got quality forms that you've done side-by-sides on. That's a nice concept. Quality is great side-by-side. You get that personalized interaction with the person, and you do it on paper, Maybe you just scan that in and upload it as part of the call that you were listening to. Good way to keep track of that, okay? Great feature. Last thing I want to touch on, I know I'm running out of time here, so I gotta watch myself, is the last thing is this whole exporting. So we've talked a lot about searching and filtering and flagging and adding attachments, but how do we actually get the media outside the system, And that's the whole concept of once I have something selected, I can actually export my calls. I can choose to email them, if I want to email them to someone right from within the system, or we've got our Save As option if I want to actually save this content out to my desktop, and that's what I want to highlight for you. When you open up the Save As option for our media export, at the top you've got a media options selection, and I think several of the people, probably maybe most of you on the call, have kind of seen this, Again, a great tool to take content out of the system, share it for review. Maybe you're doing a calibration session and you want to take this into a conference room and just listen to it on a PC without having to log into VPI. Well, save that file outside the system, listen to it, put it up on an FTP site, email it off to someone else to review. You can save as a secure attachment, which is our proprietary VPI Pack and Go file, which I'm going to show you what that looks like in a minute. That's a password protected file, great for getting that visualization of the file that you've saved. You can also save your file unsecure, which would give you just a standard WAV file. A lot of people like that. Just give me a WAV file. Load them on your iPod, go to the gym, work out, listen to some calls, whatever works for you, So you've got the ability to save your calls either as a secure Pack and Go or as an unsecure WAV file. Choosing either option, you password protect it, and then you hit save. Once you've done that, you will either get, and I'll bring my desktop up here for you, the exports are going to show up on whatever destination you choose. So I've chosen to save a secure file, and I'm going to run this. This is what's so cool about this, you guys, is that it's password protected. It's a self-contained media player. I got to enter the password that I assigned to it. And now I get, and that's not an error, it's just telling me it's using .NET 3.5. Look at my media player. I've got my timeline, I've got my content, I've got my comments. Right there, everything is all built into this media player. I can play this, right? I can see my time hashes. Great way to share the information with others. And they could even make a comment on it, right? So they could even comment on this and save it for themselves to review later. Great little tool for being able to share your exported media, and it's password protected. Really great feature. You don't want some of your stuff getting in the wrong hands, right? All right, we're all nodding out there. I'm nodding at least. And then if I wanted just a WAV file, it would come out into a zip folder. I open that up, and here's my WAV folder, right? There's my call. That's the call. It's just a standard WAV file. I can play that in any media player. But if I password protected it, ooh, look at that. Still needs the password, right? So we try to put a little security in place there.
Call 1, non-mom page.
That's that automated voice, right? But that's the call playing in the standard Windows media player. Any media player that's going to support a .wav file, .wav file, is going to be able to play that. You can also export your video files. If you're doing screen capture, you can export those as well. Think about the different ways you can use this media outside of the application if you need to get it off to someone for review. Okay, let me bring back up my application here just so the screen looks a little bit prettier. And that is going to conclude. So I hope everyone has gotten something out of this webinar. It's been informative and you'll learn some new tips and tricks. To recap what we talked about, right, users have the ability to customize their start page. They can modify their screen layout to make it more personal to them. Use the filters to the full capacity to ease your searching in what you're looking for. Build and create custom searches to enhance the overall usability of the application and quickly find and assess the records you need. Add and edit flags and attachments and export your media for external review. Kind of a nice logical flow there, some great tools. So for more information on how to upgrade or to our latest release or other application modules or any questions you might have, I'm going to put up a slide here, right, with some general information for our sales reps. And now we're going to look to open it up for questions. So if you have any questions, send them in now. I'm going to take a second here and review them in my chat window. We'll get those answered. And if you have any questions about any of the features that you've seen today and maybe you don't have them, maybe you want to explore some of those options, please contact one of the representatives listed. Renee Saliano for commercial accounts, Don Merrick for public safety. Okay, so it looks like I've got a question here. One of the questions is, can flags be set up separately in audio search and quality search? Yes, they can. Those two can have their own independent flags. So when you're looking at a quality search, right, you're looking at searching for evaluations, you can flag those calls and those evaluations independently of what has been flagged in your interaction search. Great question, Stephanie. Thank you so much. And you definitely can do that. Okay, another question I've got here. Can I flag more than one call at a time? I knew that question was going to come in, right? That's why I kind of answered it, right? And I think that question came in right about the same time I was adding flags. I just answered a little prematurely. And the answer to that is you can add one flag to an interaction. Let's see. What if I got another question here? Can I add hyperfilters to my custom search so I don't have to select them every time? That's a great question. So let me just demonstrate that real quick for everybody. Let me close this down. So when we create a custom search or have built a custom search, it's generally not going to have those filters defined. So what you have to do is when you make a new search, as you're building it, you'll notice in the upper left that you have this hyperfilters, add, remove. That's going to set the hyperfilters permanently on that search. Now, when I say permanently on that search, is every time you run that search, those hyperfilters are going to be present. You can always ad hoc change those, but from this menu, while building custom searches, you can select what filtering options you want to have. Great question. Definitely make sure you set that as you're building your custom searches. Okay, let me look through here. If I add a comment in the system, can everyone see the comment? That's a great question. The comments that are associated with an interaction are visible to anyone who has access to that interaction, right? So they can, there's a permission that controls the ability to review comments. So you can control that, and you can also mark comments as sensitive, adding another layer of security to that comment, restricting who can actually see that. So we've got the ability to mark our comments as sensitive, right, and also control who can actually see and review comments. Another great question. You guys are on the ball. All right. Go through my list here one more time, and I think that's it. I had one more come in. It says, can I have more than one quick link? And the answer is yes. Right? We talked about quick links at the very beginning up here in the upper left. We've got our option to add quick links. So I've got my reports as a quick link, and let me just make my coaching, maybe my coaching page. If I was to go here, right, I can again, right, add as a quick link. So now under my quick link menu, I've got reports and coaching. So yes, you can add multiple quick links to your My VPI drop-down menu to quickly navigate to other areas of the product. Okay, great questions. I'm going to hang on here for another minute for anyone else who wants to ask a question. Feel free to send them through. And again, I want to thank everyone very much for joining our webinar. Hopefully you'll join us for the next session in our training webinar series. Greg Cummings, and I'm out. That's it, guys. Thank you so much.